At the beginning of this year, I decided to open a brand new Etsy shop selling print-on-demand t-shirts. Now we're 5 months in, and in this video, I want to share how things are going, what kind of results I've been getting so far, and the strategies I've been trying along the way. Just to give a bit of a background, at the moment, this is kinda just a side hustle for me. I still have a day job, I'm juggling a digital product shop, which is also on Etsy that I started last year, and I run this YouTube channel too. So the time I can actually spend on this Etsy store is pretty limited. I usually spend just a couple of hours a day to work on designs or upload new listings. I'm also not a part of any coaching program or course. I've just been figuring things out as I go, mostly by watching other YouTube videos and testing strategies in real time. So if you're in a similar path this year, hopefully this can give you a bit of insight or at least let you know that you're not alone on this Etsy journey. Now without further ado, let's get into it. Just to do a bit of a recap, so far for the months of January to April, I had gotten a total of 82 orders for a revenue of about $1,000. But of those 82 orders, only 33 of those sales were actually for t-shirts. And that's because I had been using digital products as loss leaders. So I had made 49 sales of those digital products, and I'm not gonna get into too much detail on this in this video. You can watch my first monthly print-on-demand report, which I will link on the top of the screen for more information on that. But these loss leaders aren't PNGs or clip arts of my t-shirt designs. These are just 6 digital templates that I found were relevant to my niche that I basically transferred over from my digital product shop on Etsy. So I did this to hopefully give this shop some traction and initial sales to hopefully gain more trust from buyers and from the Etsy algorithm. And just to give a breakdown of my monthly sales, in January, I got no orders yet. Then I got 10 orders in February, 20 orders in March, and 52 orders in April. As for my profit in this period, I revealed in my last recap video that I'm actually down by $175. So we haven't been profitable yet, but we'll see if this changes this month. Now for May, I have about 200 listings. I have been posting at least 1 to 3 items per day. And this has gotten me 1,564 visits to my shop. And with a conversion rate of 3.3%, I had also gotten 52 orders for the month for a revenue of $832.14. So even though I got the same amount of orders as April, my revenue actually increased by $19. And that's because I actually sold more shirts this time compared to digital products. Of those 52 orders, 36 were for t-shirts and just 16 for the digital products. If you've been following my other videos, you know that I have been running ads since February. But one significant change that I made this month is that in the middle of May, I actually turned my ads off. Let's go to my ads dashboard for that. As you can see, I got 51,700 views and 695 clicks from my Etsy ads. And then it all stopped on May 18 when I finally decided to turn them off. That's because they were losing me a lot of money. I had spent $255.89 on ads, but only made back $442.86 in revenue. That gives me a ROAS, or return on ad spent, of 1.73. And ideally, just to break even with my profit margins, I'd need a ROAS of at least 5. Now, originally, I turned on my ads to gather data. I just wanted to see what kinds of designs and niches were getting attention. And I think by this point, I already had a good sense of what sub-niches and aesthetic styles I wanted to focus on moving forward. From those ads, I ended up getting 28 orders. And something interesting I want to share is that even after I turned off the ads, I still got one more order toward the end of May. So that was from someone who had seen the listing while I was running the ads and then added it to their cart and then finally decided to check out later on. But now that the ads are off, I had to shift my focus to a different strategy. Something that could help with conversions without relying on paid traffic. But I'll talk more about that later. Now, going to my profits for the month, I'm on Allura's financial reports feature to get a more accurate view of things. but the amounts are converted to my local currency, the Philippine peso. Anyway, my revenue is about $832, but we already know that. Now my costs are 23,700 pesos, which converts to about $420. And that includes my ad spend, listing fees, processing fees, offsite ads, all of that. And it says here my profit is 34,000 pesos, but that still doesn't actually include my Printify costs just yet, which is actually around 38,000 pesos. So if we subtract those two numbers, we get about negative almost 4,000 pesos or $70.68. So we're not profitable yet, but the loss is starting to get lower, and now with my ads now turned off, I can hopefully at least break even soon. Something that gives me encouragement is just reminding myself that this kind of stuff happens. Not every Etsy shop takes off right away. Every Etsy store has its own timeline. Sure, there are those shops that blow up within a few months of opening, but honestly, those are outliers. They're what we'd call anomalies. And when you think about it, it's kind of like social media. Sometimes a post or a video randomly goes viral, and no one really knows why. The same thing can happen with Etsy. There are just so many factors at play, and a lot of them are outside our control. At the end of the day, it's the customer who decides whether or not your product is worth buying. All we can do is set the stage. But when it comes to the things we can control, like our SEO, our designs, how consistently we post, I think the best thing we can do is just keep showing up. Stay consistent, keep improving, keep learning as we go. And that slow, steady progress is what builds a sustainable shop in the long run. Anyway, I mentioned that I did switch up my strategies a bit after turning off my ads. I was actually pleasantly surprised that I was able to get organic sales. For May, I got 24 organic sales. I've been dependent on ads for so long that I was afraid that once I turned them off, it would just be crickets in my shop. Looking back, sure, I wasn't getting daily sales. But as you can see, there's a sale here and there, sometimes 2 sales. And I even ended the month of May with 4 orders each on the 30th and the 31st. Now that I had turned my Etsy ads off, I knew I had to start focusing more on conversions. Without paid visibility, I had to make the most out of every moment when my listings would appear on search. That meant optimizing for the goal of making people want to click, and more importantly, making them want to buy. So the first thing I decided to do was lower my prices. I already ran regular sales, but since I wasn't spending on ads anymore, I figured I could afford to offer a bigger discount. My thinking was, if I can't pay to get more eyes on my shop, then I should at least make my listings more attractive to the people who do find them. One thing worth understanding about how Etsy works is that when a customer is browsing, the price that shows up is of the lowest priced item. That becomes part of your first impression. And if that number looks too high, people might skip over you entirely because they feel it's too expensive. So pricing can play a subtle role in how clickable your item appears. Now, while I was researching other listings, I noticed a shady tactic that some sellers use to game this system. You've probably seen it too. There's a t-shirt listing that shows up with a price of less than $10, which seems like a steal for the buyers, and for us sellers, it feels like competition you can't beat in terms of pricing. But when you click into the listing, you find out that the price only applies to a baby onesie that isn't even in the listing photos, or a random shirt size in one ugly color that's actually out of stock. The adult size shirts, the ones you thought you were clicking on, are priced at the regular market rate. This kind of bait and switch pricing can technically get more clicks, but to me, it feels a bit misleading. It creates this small moment of disappointment for the shopper, which isn't exactly the vibe that I want my brand to bring. I'd rather have someone click my listing and feel like they're getting a real deal, not like they've just been tricked. So instead of using that tactic, I decided to just make my shirts more affordable, but still enough for me to make a small profit. Another strategy I've been testing is offering a money-back guarantee, which I know might sound risky, especially for newer or smaller shops. I know a lot of sellers avoid this, like some are just nervous about being taken advantage of, and I totally get that. And honestly, if you look at many well-established shops, most of them don't even bother offering this kind of guarantee anymore, because of course, they already have tons of reviews to back up their shop. But for smaller shops like mine, without thousands of reviews, I feel like building trust takes a bit more effort. So in my case, I decided to include a dedicated listing photo that clearly states, if you're not 100% satisfied with your order, you can request a refund within 14 days of receiving your item. From a seller's perspective, it might sound like potential for loss, but from a buyer's perspective, it completely shifts the experience and it takes the pressure off. Because here's what I realized, Etsy is mostly a gift-giving platform. People are often buying things for other people, for birthdays, holidays, Mother's Day, etc., right? And if you've ever bought a gift for someone, you know how much second guessing might come with that. What if they don't like it? What if it doesn't fit? What if it looks different in person? Now, imagine being a shopper who's feeling that doubt. And then you see one listing that instantly removes that layer of hesitation because of your guarantee. It becomes a much easier purchase. And here's the thing. Most gift receivers aren't going to come back to the buyer and say, this shirt sucks, return it, right? They'll smile and say thank you. And that's it. But the buyer, the person shopping on Etsy, is still the one who wants reassurance that their purchase won't be a waste. So in that sense, this guarantee isn't just about protecting the customer, it's about reducing friction. It gives the buyer a reason to feel more confident clicking on that checkout button. So far, I haven't had any refund requests, and I think just putting the guarantee out there helps increase conversions, even if people never actually use it. It's more about psychology than policy. And especially when I'm a smaller shop trying to stand out next to bigger or more trusted stores. That extra layer of buyer confidence will hopefully go a long way. Anyway, that's what's been going on in my shop lately. It's only been a short while since I turned off my Etsy ads, so I'm still very much in the middle of this little experiment. But I'm really curious to see how things will go now that I'm relying purely on organic traffic. There's definitely a shift in mindset that comes with this. Instead of focusing on reach, I'm focusing more on conversions by making sure that when someone does land on one of my listings, it actually connects enough for them to buy or at least favorite the product. Over the next few weeks, I'll be paying close attention to how my views, favorites, and conversion rate are changing. So if you want to follow along and see how it all plays, please feel free to subscribe so you don't miss that update. And if you're testing similar strategies, maybe you turned off your ads too, or you're just trying to build more organically this year, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear how it's going for you or if you've seen any shifts since making any changes. If you found this helpful or interesting, please give this video a like and I'll see you in the next one.